Yeah, there we go. That's the way it works on when you're a bit sort of sticky after the Rolling Stones. That's the way things go.
Sticky, yeah. I've never heard anybody describe a hangover like that, but let's roll with it.
The Irish Independent back page this morning, it's dominated, you can see, by pretty jubilant Sam Bennett there. If some writers didn't know who he was, they certainly do now, is the quote here from Nicholas Roach after Sam Bennett's win at the Giro d'Italia yesterday on stage 12, his second win of the Giro. Galway cash in with new €2 million deal is the other story here. Supermax are extending their agreement for 5 more years to reflect intercounty progression, and as Colin Keys writes, it puts them up on the same general kind of a scale as Dublin and Cork. It's about half Dublin's sponsorship fee that they're going to get over the next 5 years, but that's pretty good that they're...
does he cite a figure there?
Yeah, it's 400,000 a year, 2 million over 5 years.
So just a tad below Cork. I think Chill is at 420,000 a year.
Is that what it is? Yeah, it's just below that. And Dublin is 800,000, so it's...
Is that what it is? Yeah. Because they were saying 1 million in recent weeks when the AIG partnership was announced, but they didn't have exact figures, but Colin Keys obviously has...
You know what, you could be right. I think that was actually 800,000 in the previous deal, so you could well be right.
We've yet to see an official figure on the AIG deal. It's just sources say that it's in and around 1 million.
And it's always an unfair comparison as well, because you're never going to get any county that's going to get anywhere close to that kind of a figure. So that is the story with Galway. Huge blow for Westmeath as vice-captain departs for the US. This is a story that... James Dolan is on his way to Boston, and it's 11 days out from Westmeath playing Laois in the Leinster Championship. I think it's absolute bullshit that at that point you would decide that, having been through the league and all the other tournaments, that 11 days out, a position like the vice captain decides, that's it, I'm done, I'm off, I'm out of here, because they don't any longer have the option to sort of play a couple of rounds, see how Westmeath go in Leinster, and then piss off to the US.
Yeah, does it say whether or not he'd made this decision earlier on? Does it harm the camp to have him around the squad for the last couple of weeks, even if he's going to decide to go? You think it does?
Yeah. What's he doing hanging around? What's he doing playing in the league, taking up somebody's position who is ultimately going to have to play in the championship? Communicate that to the team, to the management team at the start of the year. Either decide you're in at the start of the year or decide you're out.
Yeah, but there is also the scope to change your mind.
Not 11 days out from the championship. That is
why
such
not?
a rash decision.
It's the start of the summer. The opportunities to pick up work in the summer in the United States increase.
You've spent the last five months building away into this championship that you've made sacrifices for, presumably, in terms of your fitness regime, nutrition, your lifestyle, all of that sort of stuff, your commitment to the team. You're also the vice captain of the team. And then, so you're the one who should be setting the example, saying, this is how we should eat, this is how we should train, this is how we should behave. And then 11 days out from the most important game of the season, you're saying, I'm out of here.
But that's on him. That's his own decision. All the sacrifices he's made.
And it's a bullshit decision. It also impacts the team, though.
If you park that for a moment, though, if we believe all the sacrifice, all this stuff that he's put to one side to become vice captain for Westmeath for the first 5 months of the year, he's well within his rights to make that decision. He's well within his rights to say, listen, I've sacrificed a lot, but you know what? It'd be better for me to go to the United States this summer. It's better for me. And you know what? All those sacrifices were for me in the end. I was the one who was giving up the most. And of course the team is going to be diminished because he's vice captain.
He should have done that 5 months ago.
But he didn't know that the opportunity was going to go there. People can change their minds. Would you have had a problem with it if he did it last month? Probably not. 11 days out is a bit tight.
Probably less so, but 11 days out, as I'm saying, even in the league, the Westmeath management team would want to have prepared their team to take on Laois in the first round of Leinster, generally with the team that they're trying to work towards a first 15. And he's obviously taken up somebody's spot who...
What's your opinion on Brendan Murphy?
Was there some slight different...
he's a leader in the team.
Murphy had made it known to management earlier in the season. So at least management at that point get to decide, well, we think we value you as a player, so we're actually going to put you in anyway because we need to get some results in the league, but we understand that you're going afterwards. Whereas it seems, it doesn't have the full story, it doesn't have any quotes from the guy himself, but it seems 11 days out he's saying, that's it, I'm done.
Well, that's what he has said. It doesn't seem like that. I think that's what the story is, and I don't particularly have any problem with that.
We don't know, because we don't know exactly what the story is, right? Because there isn't any quotes from him. But so you're just trying to read between the lines of whatever Colin Keys is saying.
So worst case scenario here is he's rocked up to training 2 nights ago and said, "Listen, I'm going to the United States in 2 weeks." Okay, I can see where you're coming from. If you're a professional athlete, it's a it's a bit of a bad thing to do, but he's not a professional athlete. He's an amateur. He needs to think about his own career. He needs to think about whatever opportunities may lie for him this summer on a professional level. And
if I was a
good luck to him.
If I was a teammate of his, 11 days out, I'd be saying, dude, that's not on. Sexton losing fitness race to face Munster is the other story here in the Irish Independent. That's by Rory O'Connor, which was somewhat surprising. And also he's saying that maybe Ross Byrne is going to be the player that gets the nod to start, and not Joey Carberry. So we'll get the thoughts of Alan Quinlan and Owen Redden on that in a little bit. Surprisingly, a lot of the newspapers this morning have not really had a huge amount of coverage of the Leinster-Munster game, which was a bit surprising for me, but the Irish Times is not one of those. As you can see, Big Victor and Mick Galway going at it there. Leinster and Munster are set to add to the history of a friendly violence. So it's really all about the Leinster-Munster game here. And the Irish Times, Liam Toland as well. Munster can prevail if they emotionally drain Leinster, are his thoughts today. Carberry at 15 is the thought as well at the bottom of this piece here in terms of the team news, that Joey Carberry is going to come in instead of Rob Kearney. So that is the way the Irish Times see it shaking up. Lots on the cycling as well. On Bennett Powers home to win his second stage. This is a guy from Carrick-on-Shore, reading some of the reports. I didn't see the stage yesterday, but reading some of the reports, Sean Kelly, who would have been his mentor obviously from the same neck of the woods, has stood up in the commentary box and to acclaim his fellow townman coming over the line. Yeah, exactly. On Eurosport, the commentator says Sean Kelly is standing up beside me. A great day for the Irish. Sean Kelly is the last person to win multiple stages on a Grand Tour. That would have been in 1988 on the Vuelta. And this has been coming a long time for Sam Bennett. Like, he's been in and around the Giro last year. I think he came second in one stage. I think he had a hat-trick of third places as well, if I'm not mistaken, in that in the Giro last year. Like, obviously last year then, he doesn't actually partake in the Tour de France. I think that was a team directive that was like, right, Sam, go gung-ho on the Giro. Obviously partaking in a big team, go gung-ho on the Giro, you can take the Tour off and you can come back for the Vuelta, and I think that's how it worked out. Had he been the Lantern Rouge in the Tour de France the previous season, was that right? The previous season, like, I think it was... The last finisher. So 2016, yeah, the previous season, 2016, he was Lantern Rouge. Like, he did have a severe injury, I think, to his hand. I think he had a broken hand, and he didn't realise till after he got back to Paris. Of course, a broken hand isn't the most severe injury you could have as a cyclist and all that. But the previous year then was his first year cycling the Tour de France. He abandoned. He was urinating blood. He had a pretty hard time. It was Paul Kimmage levels of just disaster, really, when things go badly wrong in the Tour de France. And like, when you look at a cyclist like Sam Bennett, because he's a sprinter, your heart really goes out to a lot of them when it comes to the Tour de France, when it's like, right, they're going for the point stage on the flat, or they're going for the points on the flat part of the stage, I should say. And then when they go up Alpe d'Huez, they're absolutely dying, and it's like, I've already put in all my effort and I still have to go up through a whole category climb here, and they're always the guys lagging at the back. The Lantern Rouge quite often goes to a sprinter because they have to make it home to make sure they get their points and all that sort of stuff. This guy has been talked about for a long time. I mean, because he's been on the scene for whatever 7-8 years, people are saying Sam Bennett is going to come good. He's talked about abroad as a guy who's like, we've got a good Irish sprinter coming at home. And I mean, it's great to have an Irish sprinter. When you watch the Tour de France, you're like, it's great to have Dan Martin involved in the GC always. But you always think to yourself, it'd be kind of cool to have a sprinter because it's unbelievably exciting stuff. When you look at what happened last year with, like, Michael Matthews, I think, took the green jersey home from the Tour de France. Like, you look at the likes of Marcel Kittel, you look at Peter Sagan, obviously, who got disqualified from the Tour de France last year. This guy can probably mix it with them at certain occasions. Whether or not he can do it in France now is a different question. And I presume he's going to cycle in France this year. So it's very, very exciting time for Sam. Leave him out, wouldn't it, after winning 2 stages of the Giro, then to say, right, dude, that's it, good luck to you. Yeah, exactly, but at the same time, it is a huge effort. Yeah, so he's second at the moment in the red jersey quest. There's Peter Sagan there. Congratulations on your second stage win at the Giro d'Italia. You'd like to think that these two guys could become big rivals. That'd be a big statement for Bennett if he could become a big rival of Sagan. Sagan obviously will be going after that green jersey this year after what happened last year, big time. So yeah, it's exciting times for him, and like, as I say, it's a bloody exciting thing to have an Irish person well involved with, because they're thrilling finishes. Yesterday was a thrilling finish. You watched it? Yeah, I watched it back. Well, I watched it back. Okay. Didn't watch it live. I mean, home drunk from the Rolling Stones at sort of 2 o'clock in the morning. There's nothing better to do than show on a bit of cycling when you're coming back after a few pints. Spice Bag and Eurosport. Spice Bag and Sean Kelly. Yep. What is a Spice Bag? Oh my God, you're not serious. Yeah.
We need to have a sit down here and explain to you what a spice bag is. So a spice bag is something you would get from a Chinese or a chipper. I mean, a multitude of fast food restaurants do them, and it's you've got your spices obviously, which is the main part, but they would go on top of chips.
What sort of spices?
Cut up. Oh, wow. Okay. Now that's a very complex question.
Would you don't have an answer?
You're going to have to ask Mick Jagger for that to answer. It's basically chicken, chips, like peppers,
and some sort of
and all spiced up.
Oh, there we go.
Exactly. That looks like almost a gourmet spice bag.
Oh, really?
You wouldn't get that in North Dublin.
It looks fiery. Is it fiery?
What do you mean by fiery?
Like spicy hot.
Well, it is called a spice bag.
I know, but is it like hot? It's not like
it is quite hot. I mean, like these are very kind of posh spice bags.
These are Tommy.
This is D4 spice bags.
This is the spice bag Tommy would have. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah.
That's good actually. To be fair,
you should try it. I'm not sure about the curry side on it. To be quite honest.
Well, you wouldn't normally have.
Yeah, like I mean, it's become such a part of the vernacular now in the youth of Ireland that if you say to somebody, "What are you having?"
A spice bag.
A spicy box.
Okay.
If you say to somebody of a certain age in Ireland now, "Do you want to spice it up tonight?" It's like, "Oh yeah, go halves on a spice bag."
Move on. Just gone 8 o'clock on this Friday morning. The Irish Examiner. We've got a pretty cool picture of Paul McGinley and Goat. They're at Lahinch, as Lahinch toast McGinley for securing 2019 Irish Open date. We brought you this news yesterday on the show. Nathan Murphy had a special with Paul McGinley. You can check that out on offtheball.com. And yeah, some other stuff there going on about Offaly football, Sam Bennett and Ronan O'Gara's piece. And so I've been really surprised by the front page of the Irish Examiner this morning, and by the only piece that talks about a preview of the game is Brendan O'Brien inside all the rest of it, including Ronan O'Gara's piece, which is a look back at last weekend. There's nothing really too much in there. I kind of expected that the Examiner would have been sort of wall-to-wall Leinster-Munster.
Yeah, it's not just the Examiner though, is it? I mean, obviously it's like the Examiner, given its Cork base and all that, like whenever there's a big game for Munster, they often lead with Ronan O'Gara, even on just a regular Pro 14 weekend or a pool weekend in the Champions Cup.
He doesn't hardly mentions the Leinster-Munster
That's game. The thing, it's clearly yet to capture the full imagination, the Pro 14. Maybe if it was a final, it'd be very different. Maybe.
Vinnie Jones, Owen, you'll be very excited to hear Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Murphy.
Wow.
So Vinnie Jones will be all other.
I was like, what is the Vinnie Jones story?
Similar kind of characters. Vinnie Murphy is on his way to Offaly, according to Paul Keane, the Irish Daily Mail this morning. That is the report there. The St Peregrines coach is about to take over from the troubled Offaly footballers. And McCarthy vows, the other feature interview here by Ian Ladyman in the Irish Daily Mail this morning. Mick insists he'll still cut it as boss in the Premier League. He's essentially saying that his good pal Neil Warnock can cut it, so why the hell can't I? He's only 59 actually, which was a bit of a mild surprise for me. Nearing 1,000 games as a manager. No plans to retire. Wants to work in the Championship of the Premier League. Says he could get in at a good Championship club with a shot at the Premier League. And thinks he still has a job that he can do. It's not like Tesco or Esso, he says, Owen. You can't just send your CV off. You look like praying mantis, waiting for someone else to get the sack or leave, divorced, beheaded, died.
That's brilliant.
Direct quote there.
Gotta love Mick McCarthy. He's a great interviewee.
He is. It's not a phenomenal read. I've been through it this morning. It's a good read because it's Mick McCarthy, but it's a good read, not a great read. Owen, I think is the.
I'll take that though. I mean, I'll read a good read on a Friday morning any day.
Racing Post finally from me. Hancock goes all in on a FOBTs. This is the fixed bet terminal betting that they've reduced from £100 maximum stake to £2. I'd been listening to something yesterday that were saying that you could put down £100 every, I think it was either every 20 seconds or every 30 seconds. They've reduced that now to, which would seem to me to be the government taking the industry seriously, which seemed to be a good thing to do, down to just £2. That's the Racing Post this morning. And some other stuff in the back. Rafa Benitez on his way to West Ham and some other nonsense about League Two.
Just on the betting things, I was listening to a podcast from the States the other day, and they were talking about obviously the new gambling laws that have come in or are about to come in different states in the US, pretty much nationwide.
Yeah.
And they were talking about going to the 2012 Olympics, and they were like, I was over in London and they had all these booths where you could just walk in and place a bet and walk out. That it just is bizarre that you would even think that the whole idea of a bookies, that is a legal thing where you walk in, have a transaction and walk out. It's such an alien thing to them.
Well, so it does drive it. I mean, it still exists in the US, right? It's just that it gets driven underground.
Yeah, very much so. So there'll be more on that, I'm sure, in the papers when the legalisation does come in over the next couple of months. But anyway, moving back to the football, the front page of the Herald Sports section this morning says it was one of the great cup goals as Manchester United prepare to face Chelsea in tomorrow's FA Cup final. Old Trafford legend Kevin Moran talks to Eamon Carr about the famous final of 1985. It is football as well. On the back of the Mirror this morning, Pep, the £60 million man, City make him highest paid manager in the world. No wonder he's happy and excited. You've also got Arsene anoints Arteta. Arsene Wenger believes Mikel Arteta has all the qualities to be his successor as Arsenal manager. He was very reluctant to actually anoint Mikel Arteta. I think they were referring to his quotes in
Wenger.
The Guardian. Yeah.
I think pretty fulsome in his praise.
But he did also say, when I'm going to say this, you are going to report this as Wenger backs Arteta. I don't want that to be the case because I don't want me to be influencing decisions at Arsenal Football Club.
He isn't involved in it.
Exactly, but I do believe he has all the qualities. So, lo and behold, the Mirror take the Guardian's quotes and say Arsenal anoints Arteta, so Wenger sees the future there.
A good choice, I think, actually. But,
Well, I presume it is from The Guardian because he does use the exact same words in The Guardian, and on the back of the Star this morning it says, the chosen gun, Wenger tips Arteta for Arsenal job again. I don't think Wenger was going out of his way to push Arteta to the front, but he does rate him very highly as a coach. You've also got Blues will cost. That's ahead of the FA Cup final tomorrow. Pep extends Etihad stay as well, and Offaly line up Murphy. It's an exclusive, they say here, but it's obviously been carried in a couple of other places. Vinnie Murphy looks to be in the driving seat to take over Offaly for the rest of the Championship summer. We'll Pep on the gas. Champions will get even better, reads the back of the Sun. That's the new deal for Pep Guardiola. The cycle of his life, you've got Sam Bennett there as well after his stage win at the Giro d'Italia. Henry in Gunners Talk now is an exclusive by Martin Lipton here. Arsenal's top brass want to meet Thierry Henry and discuss the manager's job. From an Arsenal perspective, please do not do that thing. Do not talk to Thierry Henry. He would not make a good manager. Who on earth would think?
Is that a joke? Is that a bit of a paper seller?
Well, it's Martin Lipton. I'm sure his sources are very, very good. He's got very well-placed London sources. He always has.
I mean, I would struggle to see the evidence for that one. But I mean, he's also on, like, is it £6 million a year with Sky, something like that?
4, is it? Is it 6?
Whatever it is, it's an easy gig.
Yeah, like, I mean, it could be one of these token gestures from Arsenal like they did with Vieira last week, saying, oh, would you be interested? We can give you a formal interview.
Yeah, they spoke with Vieira on the phone, was that it?
Yeah, something like that. Hopefully it's the same thing with Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry would be a terrible manager. Let's call a spade here. Who knows, though, the genius of Roberto Martinez might have rubbed off on him in Belgium, and the next step is to dance at a Jason Derulo concert and then become a good manager. That's how Thierry Henry's career has to go. These are the Arsene Wenger quotes we were talking about. The question is, do I still want to coach? Do I still want to suffer? It's a great quote there from him. He's been speaking to The Guardian this morning. And abuse payout. Chelsea settle case with alleged victim. This is Daniel Taylor and Martin Kellner's story here. Chelsea becoming the first football club to issue a payout to an alleged victim since the full extent of football's sex abuse scandal was exposed, but risk drawing criticism for not making the compensation deal public, so we don't know exactly how much has been dished out. Chelsea had previously been condemned for paying 50 grand to another former player, Carrie Johnson, in effect to buy his silence. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not that sum will be disclosed to the victim of abuse there at Chelsea Football Club. Daniel Taylor obviously doing brilliant work on that story, and more to come from The Guardian, I'm sure, over the next couple of weeks. Arteta on the brink, says the front of the Daily Telegraph sports section. Spaniard set to become Arsenal manager with Wenger's blessing. That's probably kind of more the angle on what Wenger was actually trying to say. I think deep down he believes that Mikel Arteta is in the driving seat. It looks like he's going to become Arsenal manager.
It's a pretty good choice. Guy's got exposure to top level coaches, highest level in the game. Seems like a very natural step for him, and Arsenal have obviously never really been about sort of appointing the biggest names in world football to the manager position, so I think it's a good choice. Yeah, it seems that way. I think all of us have kind of gone on a journey of opinion on Mikel Arteta over the past 5 days or so, because it's just been good reference after good reference after good reference, from Pep to Wenger to former players that he's played with, that he is a very, very bright football mind. So hopefully it works out well for him.